Hi, welcome to the part five series which is the creative and education. In the past first, second, third, and fourth series, I have focused on other series where one could use different businesses for the purpose of forming a business and actually embarking on applying for self sponsorship. Today's topic is another episode again, which helps give different ideas which one can be able to utilize when they want to embark on the self sponsorship. Self sponsorship, as commonly known, is where one would be able to form a company, uh, um, uh, use the company to apply for COS, and in turn use the company for sponsoring themselves, hence the term self sponsorship. Now, in terms of that, in trying to assist with coming up with different ideas, I've been putting together on different series some of the examples of business people can form. On this series five, we focus on the sector of creative and education sector, where we look at what are some of the businesses one can actually form under this particular sector and use them to extract a specific acceptable role with the correct description and use this as a model for applying for self sponsorship. I'll give a couple of examples of some of the businesses with some brief highlights. Now, the first example under this particular heading, under the creative education, is an architect's studio business. One can actually form an architect studio business, and the corresponding role would be one of an architect, whereby one specifically just design residential and commercial buildings. It's quite straightforward, but that is one business under creativity. Another example that one would want to consider is the film production company business. This is essentially where one it decides to create example documentaries and media content, and which can then be used in the business. And of course, the corresponding title one would perhaps consider is one of a film director. The Home Office has allocated a role, a SOC code of 3416, which is actually the appropriate code that can be used. Another example of a business that one would want to consider under this creative education role is one of a graphic design agency. A graphic design agency is essentially where one can be tasked with developing or different branding visual assets, and in that particular sector, the appropriate job role would be one of a graphic designer. Um, the next example of a business one can perhaps consider is for those with the relevant skills is one of an online education platform. Online education platform essentially focus on delivering different curriculum via e-learning, and this can also be used to apply under this particular heading. Along with that is a business that will be looking at language training. You can consider forming a language training center, and one can embark on teaching English to international students or to anybody who may consider those services useful. And the corresponding job role for that kind of business would be one of an English teacher under code 2314. Now, the next business example one can consider for self sponsorship, if under the creative and education role, is one of a publishing house. A publishing house where one can embark on business which produces books or journals or any sorts of digital content. Basically, they're publishing, and the corresponding role for that kind of business, for those with the right skills, would be one of an editor, and the role job code SOC code of 2471. Now, another further example would be for those with the skills, the talent, or musical production studio. Again, this is where one would be tasked with composing music and composing and recording music, and the corresponding job role would be one of a music producer under the code 3415. Moving forward, another example of a business one can consider is the dancer and choreographers. Dancer and choreographers. This is where one can be embarking on professional dancing activities in theater, film, music, videos, and live events. A choreographer can be designing original routines or artistic moves, dancing instructions, which can be framed in different levels of artistic training. The corresponding job roles that would go with this would be things to do with being an artist director or a lead choreographer or performance development manager, or perhaps even a dance director, dance program director, and a job called 3414. Yeah, having looked at that, we have a few other examples where people have got the design skills. One can become an interior design. One can form an interior design business, where essentially one is looking at product, clothing, or related designers, or things like that. The corresponding job role will be one of a design technologist, and they'll be falling under code 2129. And last but not least, we also have e-learning content creation business, where one can embark on developing training models and courses. This can be any sort of training models, and the corresponding job title for that would be to be an instructional designer. We also can have an online tutorial platform business, where you set your business on online sector, and you essentially focus on designing curriculums, recruiting different tutors, and managing the delivery of different concepts and subjects. Again, this can fall within the SOC code 2313 and would qualify one for that category. And last but not least, we can also have education and training services under this particular head, where one, again, it could be tasked with doing a business of designing and delivering academic or vocational training at degree levels or that level. Again, this would fall under the SOC code 2311. So those are a few examples of which one can use under the creative and educational sector. If you have any of those skills and want to form a business, it is possible for you want to proceed and form a business and be able to use them under skills sponsorship. Of course, it's very important to remember that any business that is formed will have to be a genuine business. A genuine business that is the infrastructure of the business must be right. It has to be genuinely trading, and of course has to show that it's sustainable. We can of course be able to guide you on the finer details of this. If you have any questions in any of these areas, I'll be happy to assist. Please feel free to look at the other previous series 1, 2, 3, and 4, which covers other sectors as well, and giving you examples of businesses which one can be able to form and use them to apply for a skilled worker visa. This could be relevant to anybody who finds himself, it could be a student who is coming to the end of their curriculum course and they're considering their new options. It could be somebody who is perhaps on a skilled worker route. Perhaps they want to switch on another category. It could be that they are a victim of where their sponsor license may have been revoked or cancelled, and they're considering other options, what it is that they can do. It could also be relevant to somebody who is on a PSW, who after graduation, they embarked on the 2 years, which is now moved to 18 months, and they're trying to consider which would be the next alternative route, depending on what their skill set and qualifications are. This would be something that would be applicable to them. Last but not least, it could also be somebody who was perhaps a dependent of a skilled worker or a dependent of any partner who want to embark on their own route. Again, if this applies to you, it is possible for you to embark on your own route, provided that you have the relevant skills, provided that you're willing to run a genuine business. This is something which it's quite possible. I will have to demonstrate that, of course, the business is genuine running, and of course the roles, it's a genuine vacancy that's being extracted from this particular sector. If any of this appeals to you and you want to know more, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My contact details are there, or you can call me on my WhatsApp. I'll be happy to guide you further and be able to see whether you need any assistance. Thank you very much. I hope this is helpful.